So, how are you, first of all?
Good. Tired. Just got back from Australia for about 3 weeks of music and drinking. So yeah, recovering.
Good. So here we are here to talk about Pennywise because you guys are coming to Europe soon and you're coming to Spain. This is a media from Spain. Actually, you're playing Barcelona. So, but first of all, I want to talk about Band's Warped Tour because it's back. And actually, you're playing at Band's Warped Tour, and you're playing the whole 3 dates. So, how do you feel go back to this legendary tour? Because I heard some stories that the barbecues there are legendary as well.
Yeah, it's really cool. These tours were wow, unbelievable. We were pretty young, still we had been, we'd been touring for a few years. Not that many, like five years maybe.
Right?
And doing, US tour, European tour, maybe Japan or something like that, and Australia. And the Warp Tour came along, and it was like, man, it was like perfectly designed for Pennywise. Like, what? Pennywise, No Effects, Rancid, like Gorilla Biscuits or Shiv or whatever it was, and all these bands in one place on one day. It was like, what? This is crazy. So we weren't on the first Warp Tour. First Warp Tour was on the first Warp Tour was like, I believe, Sublime, and I want to say like Quicksand and L7 or something like that. And I heard about it. I didn't go to the show. Then Kevin Lyman had a meeting with, like, I think the guys at Hurley. I think Jim was even there, our singer, and they said, like, we want to get like No Effects, Pennywise, Rancid, like Bam Bam Bam, like all these bands that were really the same genre, right? And
Right.
a little bit different, maybe some ska punk in there. And we put it together, and it was absolutely crazy. Like, these times were like nothing before. I mean, you're on the road with 40 bands, and you have this tight bonding. You're gone for 5 weeks. You're eating together. You're barbecuing together every night. You're watching each other play. Like, the friendships that were made on that tour with the band members and crew members and bus drivers and truck drivers and the fans were just unbelievable. So we did that tour for a long time. And then it kind of started shifting a lot to like more emo and some hardcore, some new metal type
Hmm.
stuff, and screamo and stuff. And we kind of got pushed out. The punk rock kind of got pushed out of it, even though there was a couple bands. But
Right.
the fact that Kevin's bringing it back with fans, and they do these huge shows now, they're like 40,000. Like, before, it was like 8,000, 9,000, 15,000 would be like a huge Warp Tour show,
Hmm.
which was huge. But now they're doing like 2 days in Long Beach, 40,000 people, like, and they're going back, and they're having all types of bands. They're having some screamo, they're having some punk rock, they're having some ska, they're having some, rappy type stuff. Like,
Hmm.
so it's cool to go back and say, hey, let me handpick, 20 of the best bands from over the last 30 years and put them on one show. So it's really fucking cool. It's a great honor to be involved in it. It was one of our favorite tours of all time, and it was like great memories. So to be able to come back and do it again is awesome.
Do you think that it's possible to run Band's Warp Tour now in 2025 as it was before, like 20 years ago? Or maybe that's the issue. That's why it was discontinued. You could do it, you cannot do it like that way, like 40 bands, 5 weeks in a row, all across the United States, you
Yeah.
know?
It'd be very difficult to do that. I mean, there was nothing like it. I think it was the longest running tour in history, in American history. I think there's just too many rules. There's too much control by the bigger companies now. Like, before, Kevin would just go rent a parking lot somewhere or a park, and he would get it, and he would just be able to take over the whole thing. And now there's so much government red tape. It becomes very difficult to find this. Punk in the Park is a newer brand tour that's
Hmm.
coming out that
Yeah.
reminds me of Warp Tour. The guy Cameron who's doing it is a super cool guy, and he's doing more and more shows. The problem is that doing during no one's got the balls, I should say, to do it during the week. They'll do it like on Friday or Saturday Sunday, but
Hmm.
what about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? So The
Right.
fact that Kevin was coming through these towns on a Monday morning with 40 bands and 300 crew members was crazy. And like I guess you could try it, but it's not going to be easy. The cost of doing these things now is crazy. The other thing is, I think bands were playing for really cheap back in those days for Kevin.
Yeah.
Like you didn't really know how much you should be doing now. Like a band that say was getting paid $10,000 to play a Warped Tour, now they're going to say, "Hey, I want 50,000 or something." So it's the cost of operating a band is
Hmm.
very expensive now. When you have a bus and you have your crew and you have insurance and you have manager and you have all this shit, like it's really hard to make money out there, as a band with, hotel rooms, gas prices, all this shit. So a lot goes into play, but there's still cool things, like Punk in the Park's happening, reconstruction in Spain and Europe. Dave Pollock used to have a tour called Deconstruction back
Yeah.
in the day. It was similar to Warped Tour. Like we had like 15 bands. We had motocross jumping. It was really good for a couple years, and then that got difficult money wise, and it kind of went away because you, as a promoter, you lose money.
Yeah.
Now Dave Pollock from Destiny is back doing reconstruction because NoFX was doing the Punk and Drublick, and they had such great success that he's like, "Hey, let's start doing a little festival. Like, who knows? Maybe next year he has 10 bands on this festival." The bottom line is when you do tours like Reconstruction coming up, Pennywise, Propaganda, Comeback Kid, it gives you a chance to really get a vibe going on tour, right? Like you start
Hmm.
to hang out with the other bands. You start to have dinner with them. You have a couple beers after the show. You're up there watching Comeback Kid, then Comeback Kid's up there singing Broham and Propaganda. It's like you get this feeling of community, right? And
Hmm.
that translates to the show. When we're up there, we're talking about our friends in these other bands. They're talking about us. They're coming up doing guest appearances, and you start to get this vibe, and it's a positive feeling. And the Warped Tour had that. Anytime you're out with your friends or bands that are like you that you can become friends with, it elevates the whole feeling of the show. And I feel like the crowd gets a better show because everyone is like feeling good. Hey, what's up? You gonna be up there? Yeah, I'll see you up there. Hey, have a great show. Like every day, you
Hmm.
have good support from everybody, right? And
Right.
so the feeling of the Warp Tour is like being carried on by other promoters such as Dave Pollock and Destiny and Cameron from Punk in the Park. And Kevin Lyman was the first one to bring this feeling, man. He literally put that whole vibe on the map, and he was so cool, so down to earth. He'd be up at 6 in the morning making sure the barricade was good and coming by the bus for fucking breakfast tacos, and coming by the bus at the end of the night for a couple drinks to talk about the show. Like it was very communal, very family, and I know this is the same feeling we're going to get on this tour coming up. So really looking forward to that whole vibe.
Yeah, and Reconstruction is the tour that is going to bring you to Spain again, to Barcelona. It's great because it's a Saturday, but also because on the same weekend, you also have Bad Religion playing in Barcelona on their 40th anniversary tour. So that's amazing. You can do both shows. You can go to Pennywise on Reconstruction, and you can go to Bad Religion as well. Um, as you say, on this reconstruction tour that is running on Europe in May, you have bands like Propaganda, Compact Kid, Modball playing with you, right? But is there any band that maybe you would like to include in next year reconstruction?
There's a ton of bands. Every
Mhm.
band I would want to include. I forgot Madball's on Barcelona. I keep forgetting, man. That's going to be such a good show. They're going to bring it for sure. Love it. Obviously, I think about something like Reconstruction. I think about Lagwagon.
Mhm.
I think about Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, Mad Caddies. There's just so many good bands in this genre. I mean, if you were to do like Pennywise, Bad Religion, Descendants, yeah, okay, let's do that one. There's a there's a million that you could put together. It would be nice to see the tour even bigger, like like I said, like 10 bands would be awesome. It's harder to do it logistically. You need more time, you need more crew, you need more everything. But I think this tour, this version of this tour, is a good start, and hopefully it grows bigger from here. Any bands in the punk rock genre
Hmm.
are going to be good on that tour, and there's just so many to choose from. I mean, how about Rancid? Let's do Rancid, Descendants, Lagwagon, Strung Out. Like, that would be a great tour. I could go on all day about the dream lineups. It's all about bands being available and working together. I mean, it's really cool that Barcelona gets Bad Religion and Pennywise on the same weekend. At the same time, it's hard for a ticket buyer,
Yeah.
because sometimes people can't afford to go to both shows. So that's a bummer. So somebody might have to choose between the two. Um,
Actually, I think the promoter is the same for both
uh-huh.
shows, so they are doing a special price if you bought both tickets for the Constriction
Oh
and
yeah.
Bad Religion. Yeah, so
Oh,
that's good.
that's cool.
Yeah,
I'm surprised they didn't just try to put Bad Religion onto the same bill with us. That would have
yeah.
been, oh my God, that would have been huge. But the fact it's on 2 days, and if there's a special price, that's great. I'm going to be bummed because we're flying to Milan the next morning and I can't go see Bad Religion. But that's always a bummer about being on tour. When your friends are out, you wind up leaving the town when they come to town. We just missed Green Day and AFI in
Hmm.
Australia by one day. I would have loved to see Slipknot, but we missed them by one day. So that's a bummer. But yeah, it should be a great day. It's Barcelona is obviously one of the best markets for punk rock in the world. The crowd goes hard, very hard there, and the energy is always extremely high. So we're looking forward to it for sure, and looking forward to like bonding with Propaganda and Comeback Kid and seeing Madball. That's going to be awesome. So it's going to be a good day.
So Fletcher, most people like to talk about the good times in a band, right, or the highlights in a band. But bands also have bad times, especially bands that have a long run as Pennywise. So there should be some dark times as well. So I would want to ask you, what would you consider is maybe not the worst time, but at least the most difficult time that you spent in Pennywise? Which era, or do you recall something like was especially difficult?
Obviously, Jason, our bass player, passing away. Jason and I were the first members of Pennywise. I called
Hmm.
him and I said, "Hey, I want to start a band, and I know you play bass, and let's get together." And we started Pennywise together. So we were the original songwriting force. Was me and Jason. And I was writing a lot of music, and he was writing almost all the lyrics and the melodies. And then Jim came along and started helping writing songs as well. Jason was not only my co-writer for Pennywise songs, he was like my best friend. So losing him was definitely the darkest time for the band. And Jim, was good friends with Jason before I ever really met Jim or Jason. Jim and Jason were good friends, and when Jason was like, "Hey, Jim's looking to try out for the band," I said, "Okay." And he tried out, and Jim will stay to this day. Like, the reason he joined Pennywise was for Jason, because of
Hmm.
Jason. So that was the darkest time for us for sure. Losing him, and suddenly, I mean, he was struggling with drugs and alcohol for a long time. We were putting him in rehab, and we were a notorious band for partying. We'd been partying for since day one, and it just got out of control. So we were trying to get him help, and it just didn't. It just went bad. Out of that came a lot of questions like, should we actually continue the band, or should we break the band up? And the Pennywise motto was always about moving forward in the face of hardship and never giving up and never giving in. So it's like the right thing to do was keep Pennywise going and keep Jason's music alive and keep his songs alive. So maybe right now, 25 years after his death, a 15-year-old kid, a 13-year-old kid is getting into Pennywise, discovering those albums that he wrote the lyrics on, and those lyrics are life-changing lyrics. So for him to have contributed that, I think it was important for us to keep it going. And it was very hard to keep it going. And after his death, we wrote the record Full Circle, which has a lot of emotions. It's one of my favorite records, but it's a very dark record at times and a lot of emotions coming through. If you listen to that record, like every song has an intro, a verse, a pre-chorus, a chorus, a bridge, an outro. Like there's a lot of information. It's not just like verse, chorus, song's done. Or, verse, chorus, bridge, song's done. It's like we had so much to say and get off our chest that it became this like very complicated punk rock album in a way. Yeah, so I mean, I feel like that record has a lot of weight in the punk rock world, and if we were to go hang it up at that point, that record would have never came out. So that was a dark time. It was hard to get through. Full Circle was kind of like the therapy in a way, and yeah, so it's a part of Pennywise that won't go away, but at the same time, like, Jason's with us every day and his music's with us, so it's pretty cool.
Well, changing subject, something that is gonna happen soon, I think in the next weeks, is you're playing Punk Spring. This is in Osaka, in Japan, I think, right? You're sharing bill with the Sex Pistols. You know, Sex Pistols has now Frank Carter singing with them. You being a band that also have a different frontman in the past, and you have to deal with maybe hardcore fans claiming, no, this is not the real version of the band, or that is the real version of the band. So what are your thoughts of this incarnation of the Sex Pistols? Because Johnny Rotten seems to be really pissed off about it.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. I mean, I never got along with Johnny Rotten very good because he was disrespectful to other punk rockers, and me and him, I threatened him a couple times, like physically. He threatened to stab me one time at a bar, and I gave him some scissors, and I said, "Go ahead." And he took the scissors, put them on my stomach, but he didn't stab me. So I told him he was a poser because he had the opportunity to be a tough guy, but he didn't want to take it. But he's always been so mean. I've witnessed him being mean and disrespectful to other guys in punk rock, like TSOL and Circle Jerks and this kind of stuff, like people that deserve respect. And he was always thinking he was so cool. And I've seen him being disrespectful to reporters, interviewers. And so Sex Pistols, one of the greatest bands in history. That first record is one of the greatest records ever written by any band of the world. But his attitude went a little too far for me. So I'm quite happy to see someone else singing for the Sex Pistols, personally. Is it making him mad? Okay, that's even better. Johnny Rotten's mad, then I'm even more happy because he made a lot of motherfuckers unhappy in his life. And he sued Steve Jones about the documentary, or not the documentary, the movie, the Pistols. He said that, he didn't want that to come out, and he lost in court on that. And so it's one of those things where he basically, I guess he kind of deserves it, right? So I'm totally happy to see the Sex Pistols play without Johnny Rotten. Of course, I would love to see him play with Johnny Rotten, and I have seen it, but it doesn't hurt my feelings.
So Fletcher, fans wants to know because the last album they heard from Pennywise was in 2018, Never Gonna Die, right? So they want to know, is there new music coming out, or maybe new music is not necessary right now?
We have a lot of songs right now. I think I have 150 songs right now.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot. Writing since COVID. And I know Jim's got songs, Randy's got songs. It's a matter of finding the time, putting the time aside. Is it a priority? No. But everybody wants to hear the old shit, the first 5 albums, first 6 albums. Do we need more songs right now? Not really. Do we need an album? Not really. Do the fans want to hear it? Maybe. Are the fans going to like it? We'll see. But I think with what's going on with politics in America, with Trump and Elon and all this bullshit going on, we're going to have to come out with some songs, maybe a couple singles, maybe an EP, because I think we have some things to say right now about the state of the world and what's going on in the world we're not happy with. And I think it's time to bring some songs out, even if it's just one song, to make a little statement here. So I think you'll probably be hearing some new music sooner than later from Pennywise.
Another thing that happened recently is the NoFX Goodbye tour, right? They played their final shows just a couple of months ago, and people was confused because normally people think well, they think that bands are forever or bands will play until they die. Sometimes it's not just an age issue, but it could be thousand things happening in the band, right? So I think for me at least, I prefer my heroes to split instead of keep touring without the passion. So what do you think about it?
Yeah, I agree. Fat Mike always told me he hated touring.
Right.
He hated touring and being on stage. And I said, well, it doesn't look like it because you're having a good fucking time up there every time I see you. And he was pretty burned out for quite some time. It became more fun for him to crack jokes than play music up there on stage, which was also pretty funny for me to watch. Like you said, when people get burned out, you can see it. And
Yeah.
it's important to be passionate about it. For me, like I've had some shows where I was maybe mad about something or pissed off or broken or whatever, and maybe it's not the greatest show in history, but like every time I go out there, it's for me it's the best hour of the day, and it's like my lifeblood. So I don't. For me, I've never had to worry about like not having a good time up there, because the passion is still there, and I feel like everybody in the band is still very passionate. I think Jim's playing better shows than he's ever played, or really, really playing great shows. I think Randy has a great time doing it. I mean, he'll tell you right now, like, this is what I do. This is my life, and so that's great. Byron, it's a really hard job. He's
Hmm.
he's 50 something years old, and he's playing 300 miles an hour, and physically he's hurt. It's painful for him. So he's not having the best time up there because it's not actually like you're not talking to the crowd, you're not dancing around, you're back there, lifting weights basically. So I know he's a little broken, but I think everybody's heart is still in it for us, and I hate seeing bands that are going through the motions. And there are some bands out there that are some of my favorite bands that I look at them, I go, oh man, they don't really want to be there anymore.
Or
So
maybe everything is just a big joke from Fat Mike and he's coming back next year.
he told me many times it's not going to happen, and I believe him. He said, "No way, never." Um,
Right.
and I think there's some fighting going on about the breakup, and I just did an interview for NoFX the other day for the documentary on the movie, and
Right.
yeah, so I think that documentary is going to be pretty cool. I think the documentary, they're talking about taking it to movie theaters and then doing question and answer and like selling merchandise. I'm like, what? Wait a second, you're gonna go on tour basically with a movie, you motherfuckers? But it'll definitely be fun. But yeah, we'll see what the future holds with them. You never know. I mean, Mike might be sitting around in 5 years saying, I really miss being on the road. I made a mistake, and it's possible. I mean, I want to see NoFX play again, so I won't
Yeah.
be mad if they get back together. But right now, I can tell you for sure, he says never.
Fletcher, just to finish the interview, one last question. There are a lot of bands coming out, especially in the last, let's say, 10 or 5 years in the punk scene and in the hardcore scene. But I'm reaching 40 this year, and it's getting harder and harder to keep track with the new bands. And I'm noticing that I'm still listening to new bands, but instead of listening the whole new bands are coming out and going back to the records I was listening 20 years ago, right? I think it's
Right.
normal. But I want to ask in your case, is there any bands that came out in the last 5 years that really got your attention?
Absolutely. I mean, I was saying in an interview not to push a band that I'm working with, but I've been managing a band called Slaughterhouse for about 6 years now, and they're from my city here, and
Mm.
they're really one of my favorite bands right now, and they kind of gave me like hope on the punk rock scene for the
Mm-hmm.
future. And a lot of they were coming from this small scene where like 200 people going to shows, and I learned about a lot of bands through them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing some really cool stuff happening in that world. So Slaughterhouse is a great band. Everyone should check them out. They're actually touring this summer in Europe with Lagwagon.
Right.
And there's a band, Amo and the Sniffers, who obviously I think
Yeah,
everybody knows this band
for
now.
sure. Yeah.
I've been into them for about, I don't know, I want to say like four years or something like that. I found them
Mm-hmm.
before they got popular, and I really really love that record. They got a new record out right now. It's great. Also, I've been really getting into a band called Conservative Military Image. It's
Mm-hmm.
probably my favorite record in like 5 years. It's a little more edgy. Some people get pissed off because they're kind of like Chicago fucking hardcore band. Scowl is a great band. I
Yeah.
mean, even first, I've been Strain is like hardcore band on Epitaph now that it's really fucking kicking ass. Like great crazy shows and just really cool dudes. Um, a lot of female fronted bands now that are
Yeah.
really doing good and bringing really good shows. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff happening. You just got to look for it. Gives me hope that there is a future for punk rock. God, the Bad Nerves is another band that's really fucking cool.
Yeah.
Just there's a lot of them out there and a lot of like cool hardcore stuff happening. So I'm happy to watch this new generation come up.
Fletcher, thank you so much for your time and for the interview. We will see you playing in Barcelona soon in May.
Can't wait. All right, thank you very much. Talk to you
Okay.
soon.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye.